Hi and welcome to another narration presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the arse of the subscription button as well. And remember to chokehold that notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. And by subscribing you'll be the first to see all of our new spooky creepypasta stories. I would like to reach out and say a huge thank you to those of you who have been supporting Cryptids Roost financially with your sponsorship. We pray the good Lord replenishes you abundantly, and to those of you who will, later on. We pray the good Lord bless you as you do so. And also a huge thank you to everyone for always supporting the channel with your likes, comments and shares as well. It is all very much appreciated. God bless you all. And now let's just take a moment's silence for all the haters. That's enough. You should see an info card pop up during the duration of the video. Each of these info cards, top right corner, will direct you to the playlist for the author of this story. I will also show you other stories from the same author that you may also enjoy. Also be sure to check out the end screen at the end of the video. This will also direct you to two more videos. One is the most recent video uploaded, and the other will be a random video from within my catalogue of stories I have already narrated, so be sure to check those out. If you would like to buy me a coffee, I do have a PayPal, and that will be listed in any video description. And why not hashtag cryptidsroost in your comments. I would also just like to say a very quick big thank you to all the authors that I have worked with and all the ones that I will work with in the future. So thank you all, my brothers and sisters. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. The BrothersRedhill Part 6. Can you lend a hand? This awesome story is written by BrothersRedhill, aka crypticwander, a wonderful author over on Reddit. And if you would like to read more of his works, the Reddit link to his profile will be below in the description. Hello again, Matt here. It's been longer than usual, and the last time I wrote there were a lot of open-ended questions. Did Zach ever get his medallion out of the basement? Am I gonna nobble Serena? What was up with the broom man in the burn pile? Well, allow me to fill you in. Also, please excuse my slower writing pace. I kind of lost my right arm. Typing is a bit of a struggle now. The miniature man made out of broomsticks certainly did concern me. Lots of weird stuff goes on around here, and aside from a Zach prank, it could only represent one of us. I went closer to examine it and was hit with a strong smell of gasoline. I was planning on burning stuff soon, but I know I didn't douse it yet, and while Zach had done a lot of yard work when I was sick, he didn't mention anything about doing it today. I saw the brooms were tied together with hair, and as I began to pull it out, I also noticed the string that was tied to the back of it. The thin, nearly invisible line fed through the pile of branches and into the bottom below. After moving stuff out of the way, I was shocked to find that the string led between two bricks. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. It was a goddamn trap. Whoever put the straw man there had placed a match between two bricks lined with sandpaper. If I had pulled that thing out hard enough, I would have been burned alive. I dropped the straw man and jumped out of that pile as fast as I possibly could. I'm sure I looked something like a wounded gazelle as I leapt out and rolled onto the grass. Looking back, I saw a spark appear from the other side and whoosh! Flames erupted like it was the church all over again. Not thinking twice, I ran into the shed for the fire extinguisher. It wouldn't do a whole lot to stop that mountain of brush, but it's still the dry season and I didn't know how long the safety colour for the county would change back over to green. It should have been on the wall next to the door going into the house, but it was empty. I frantically looked around and saw it on the floor next to the wood pile. I ran over and picked it up and was surprised when a large cardboard box fell over my head. I threw it off and furrowed my brow when I saw there was a rope attached to it. Another trap? I thought to myself. Suddenly, small ropes were attached around me, quickly pulling me against a beam. More and more of them strapped me up tight, and before I knew it, I couldn't move. "Zach!" I yelled, hoping he wasn't in the trailer at Sheena and Melvin's. I couldn't see my captors as they were behind me, but I could hear excited chatter. High-pitched voices sounded off, and I screamed louder for Zach.
"Nahuli na natin siya, Dolly. Ihawid na natin at tawi tu. Loko, di natan pwedeng sunugin sariling bahay natin."
"Who are you? I can't understand what you're saying," I yelled.
"I say we pull off a body part every day until he pays us back rent,"
yelled one of the voices behind me. The back door to the house opened and Serena walked out. The dinosaur thing that had hatched was sitting on her shoulder and let out a hiss. It must not have liked whatever it tasted in the air. She was stunned when she saw that I was tied up. "Matt, why are you tied up? What's going on here?" "I don't know. There's something behind me, talking about ripping me apart." She walked closer and squealed with delight. "Oh, how cute! Who are these little people?" One of them jumped up and leapt off my head, landing gracefully on the pool table. It looked like a little brown man, standing only a foot tall or so, with an exaggerated head and hands. It walked back and forth, stroking its beard, carrying a tiny spear in its hand, then stopped in front of her.
"You human beings barge into our home, lock off the doors to the nectar room, and refuse to give us our fair share of things. This is rude, inconsiderate, and cannot be allowed."
The dinosaur jumped off Serena's shoulder and landed on the pool table alongside of it. Growling, its clubbed tail began to wave back and forth. The creature raised its spear in defence, and two more of the creatures catapulted off my shoulders beside their friend. "Dino! No!" Serena yelled, picking him back up. "We're sorry, we didn't know anything about you guys." It spat on the old felt below it.
"Well, that's typical for giants like you. Just push anything out of the way to make room for yourself. Don't matter what was already there."
"Hey, this is my house. I have the deed," I yelled.
"You be quiet. This doesn't involve you,"
yelled the one on the left. "Listen, we're all reasonable people. We're sorry we took over your space, but we have as much right to live here as you do. Matt and Zach's family have been here for generations. Is there any way we can make it up to you?"
"By our calculations, you've lived in our house for about 6 months. I'd say that's about 12 bottles of whiskey, and that's only the start. You go get us our stuff and keep giving it every month, and we'll get along easy peasy. If not, well, let's just say this big oaf is gonna have an unfortunate mowing accident."
The others laughed and cheered him on. "1 second!" she yelled and ran back into the house, leaving me alone with the little men. Awkward silence filled the space, and they attempted small talk.
"So you, what do you do for fun?"
the leader asked. "Sleep. It's a lot easier to avoid all of this," I said, nodding my head to the scene before me.
"Oh yeah, right. That's a good thing to do."
After a few more painful moments, Serena came back holding a bottle of Jägermeister and a bag of our pot. "This is all I have at the moment. If I promise to go get more, can you please let Mac go? Come on guys, what do you say?
Well, alright. But you remember this. Next time we won't take it so easy on you,
he said, walking over to take the large bottle.
Alright boys, let's go get wasted and punch a deer. Tagay!
They all cheered. Oh my god, why does this kind of crap always happen to you? She asked, coming over to untie me. I just shook my head. I didn't really have an answer, as this was something I was constantly asking myself. I was about to go back inside and see if Zach was there, but then I remembered the fire. I grabbed the extinguisher and ran out the back door, and I was stunned. The fire that had been a raging inferno before was completely out, and I saw the broomsticks were laying against the shed, no longer in a stickman formation. Well, I guess that settles that, I said, refusing to give it another thought. Inside, I found Zach upstairs in Uncle Bob's room. He was going through some of the boxes of Bob's old stuff, and no longer in those pink nurse scrubs. He now wore jeans and a t-shirt with a truck on it that read "Camel Towing. We'll pull it out when it's wedged in tight." I couldn't be sure what the hell was real when I was sick, so I didn't try to reason that out. I know you hate it when I'm right, dude, but this has gnomes written all over it, said Zach. Where the hell did you even get gnomes from? I asked. I read about it over on his desk. I scrunched my eyebrows and went over to check myself. I looked over to Bob's bed where I saw him sitting in my dream, then over to the door to the roof, which made me shiver. There was a bunch of odd papers on his desk, and one with a doodle of a small person caught my eye. Since our forefathers settled on this land, the duende have been coming here to drink the yolk of the Great One. Invisible to the eye unless they want you to see them, they are a mischievous bunch that enjoy playing pranks on occasion. In German folklore, it is common to leave a thimble of alcohol among various other things to preserve a friendly relationship. Once a month I have taken to leaving them a bottle of wild turkey, as well as a couple of nuggets of the stuff I grow on the stone that juts out to the west of the house. It works pretty well, and in fact they leave behind odd trinkets from time to time. I made the unfortunate mistake of forgetting a few years back, and they damn near flayed me alive. Won't be making that mistake again. Huh? I'll be damned. What are you doing over there? I read about something called the MacGuffin. It's on the end of one of those papers over there. I was hoping the book they were in would be around here somewhere, he said, throwing random stuff out behind him. I looked down and sure enough there was the beginning of a sentence. The MacGuffin is a legendary weapon kept hidden in the cave below. So far it appears to be the only thing that can... And then it cut off. Well, good luck with your search, man, I said, lighting up a joint from my case and went back downstairs. Serena had the radio going, and as if it felt my presence, the weird station scrambled in.
Greetings. The current time is 4:26 p.m. As the great clock winds down, we would like to tell residents to be ready for the coming of Talbia. She brings darkness and bad tidings to you all. Should you find yourself trapped in a sinkhole, sit tight and tell a story or three. Something will be along to assist you shortly. Things will begin to get hairy for the two sons of Phillips. Be sure to stock up on plenty of insect repellent, or you might have your arms full, or 8 of them. Lastly, with Halloween changing into Thanksgiving, remember to embrace the family that you have. They may not be the ones you want, but they will always be the ones you need. Thank you, and good evening.
The static came up, but before it could cut out, I could make out people arguing.
Please, let's just tell them.
And then Willie Nelson's Always on My Mind took his place. You heard that, right? I asked. They're getting really specific lately. Why not just call you on the phone? Serena asked. I was about to answer her when the phone on the wall began to ring. "You just had to ask, didn't you?" I said, getting up and answering it. "Hello, this is Matt." "Ah, Mr. Redhill. How delightful to speak with you again." I instantly recognised it. The light English accent picked up in an overexcited tone. It was Mayor Barghast. "Right, what can I do for you?" "The two of you did such a wonderful job of clearing out the warehouse. I think it's time for a real job. Please come by tomorrow at your earliest convenience, and I will fill you in on the details." "Ah, maybe. What's the pay? I mean, the last time we did a job for you, we kind of killed a guy." "Yes, well, he was of small importance, and I won't lie, this job will be a bit more dangerous. But shall we say 2 grand to each of you upon completion?" I stood up much straighter upon hearing this. "Yeah, that's pretty good incentive, I suppose. No promises, but I don't see the harm in visiting tomorrow. I gotta stop by the liquor store anyway." "Marvellous. I shall see you and your brother then. Ta-ta for now, Mr. Redhill." "Who was that?" yelled Zach from upstairs. "Barghast," I said, putting the phone back on the hook. "Says he has some work for us and is willing to pay out of the nose. Wouldn't say what though." "Well, if you guys are going, I am too," said Serena. "Don't you have work at some point?" Zach asked, coming down the stairs. "I do, but not for the bull anymore." She had a smug look upon her face, with her eyes closed and head held high. "What? What happened to that?" I asked. "I got a call as well the other night. It seems Barghast somehow knows how close we are and offered me a job of being your guy's chauffeur and backup." Zach and I looked at her quizzically. "What? It pays a lot better and I don't have to smell like hot wings all the time." I swear Zach looked like he was going to cry at hearing this. "So he has people watching us?" I asked. "It would seem so. I don't think there's a whole lot we can do about it at the moment. So let's just play along and keep our eyes peeled for now." The night came and went, and the next morning I woke up to Zach knocking on the door with his giant fist. "Hang on a minute!" I yelled. I noticed Serena was already out of bed. I slapped on some pants and opened the door. Matt! I got the medal!" he said excitedly, waving it in my face. "Hey, let me see that," I replied, taking it from him and looking it over. It was different from mine. At first I thought I was just holding it upside down, but then I realised the mountain was actually a large valley dipping down into the earth. The sun that hung low in the bottom wasn't a sun. It was more oval, like an egg, and above it sat a small building. "How did you get past Captain Bubbles?" "Dude, that's the best part. I didn't have to. I was outside getting ready to try out the riding mower after I sharpened the blades, and it just dropped down out of nowhere and bonked me in the head. I don't get it. Why is it lopsided?" I asked, giving it back to him. "I don't know, man. Sucks we can't ask Grandma though." "Well, why don't we ask Uncle Bob? Where is he anyway? I haven't seen him in a little while." "Oh, he got called away on business. Something about a ghost conference. I don't know." "Okay then. Well, the mayor's pretty knowledgeable about these sort of things. Let's go see him." "To the Redhill mobile!" We opened the door and I headed to the driver's door and was surprised to see Serena. Apparently she was really into this driving us around thing, so I went around and scooched in beside Zach. The ride was short and uneventful. As usual, the dirt parking lot around the long building was empty and the three of us headed in. The secretary was still at her desk, busy answering phones as well as putting others on hold. Without even looking, she just pointed over to the fancy double doors towards the back of the building. Being Serena's first time inside here, I had to prepare her for what she was actually walking into. She continued to assure me that everything would be fine, and we walked in. The heat of the room was present, and it was just as dark as I remembered. In the centre of the room was the table, with the set of candles being the only light, and I shut the door behind me. "Well, if it isn't the BrothersRedhill, so good of you to come," Mayor Bargas said in his whimsical manner. The figure behind the desk clacked to life as the body rose from the strings. Serena squinted to see exactly what she was looking at, and the puppet walked forward in a way that mocked a normal person. Those eyes came into view and I shivered, remembering the last time Zack made him angry. "What can we do for you, sir?" I asked. "There have been many reports lately of wildlife attacks. Now, I normally wouldn't worry too much about these sort of things. The new animal control officer is, well, he's very good with these sort of things." "Well, no offence, but why not just leave it to him?" asked Serena. "Well, I have reason to suspect that these incidents are not normal. A few men in town have come back with large scratch marks across their bodies, and there are currently 3 that haven't come back. Sheriff Norris said they were raving about cougar people. Regardless of the findings, I trust we can keep them our little secret." The puppet head dipped slowly to the side, and I swear I could see the red wooden lips curl into a smile. This guy was good. "Hell yeah, we can!" Zack yelled. "Quite right. To the south of town is a recreational area. The woods begin there, and about 5 miles in is where the group of men were supposedly attacked." "Ha ha 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 ha! Cougars! Am I right, fellas?" said Zack. He lifted a hand for a round of high fives, then put it down with a sad look on his face when there were no takers. "Be careful, all of you, and take this with you." His puppet hand reached out with a small pistol taped to it. I really didn't want to go near the thing knowing what was pulling the strings from above. Serena was more experienced with guns anyway, so I nudged her forward. She hesitantly walked forward to the wooden figure and reached out to take it. There was a sharp tug of the hand and she gasped, looking up towards the dark ceiling. A low growl came back to greet her and she quickly moved back to us. "Money will be paid upon completion. Now, off you go." We walked out as quickly as possible, almost getting stuck in the doorway. Serena let out a sigh and I could tell how unprepared she was for that. She was silent up until we got into the truck and headed south. "What the hell was that?" she asked. "You don't want to know. That guy is serious business, and from now on let's just deal with him, alright?" said Zack. I could tell he was sweating, remembering the last time he got a good look at the puppet master. South of town, the park came into view, and a line of trees came up to meet it. I didn't know how popular a place it was, but at the moment it was empty, with only the swings gently blowing back and forth, making me shiver. We got out and looked at our current weapon supply. We had been doing a lot of gardening around town, and I pulled out a spade. The best thing Zack could find was a rototiller. Not necessarily the best tool for defence against hungry cats, but in the hands of Zack, anything could be a deadly weapon. Serena, of course, had her 9mm pistol, which I was eternally grateful for. "Why do you get 2 guns?" asked Zack. "Because I'm the best shot?" "Well, yeah, but it's not like you're going to be shooting 2 guns at once, right?" "Fine, take the tranquilizer." "No, don't!" I started to yell, but it was too late. Zack had a history of substance abuse. That's not to say I didn't back in the day, but he had an addictive personality that I didn't share. Immediately upon taking the tranquilizer gun, he shot himself in the leg. "Really, dude? Do you feel better now? She asked incredulously. I sure do, he said in a dreamy state. I doubt he even felt it when I ripped the dart out of him. The best I could hope for was his massive frame would mean he would still be somewhat useful, and we walked on. Zack took his place in the lead and the three of us slowly walked through the trees. There was a small path that led forward and I could only assume it was a popular hiking trail, or a place where kids could come get trashed on weekends. I think every town has a place like that. There were birds chirping around us, which was a good sign, and though the trees were thick, there was still pretty good visibility. A couple miles in, the path turned to mud, and fresh tracks could be seen. I'm not a tracker, and I don't know anything about wildlife, but the footprints embedded there seemed awfully big to be a regular animal. They were definitely cat-like, and about as big around as my outstretched hand. Alongside them were the scuffs of something being dragged. 4 long lines were raked throughout the mud and continued on until the path turned solid again. I checked to make sure Serena had her gun ready, and she did. We continued on, listening intently on anything that might surprise us. Ahead, the trail opened up into a brightly lit area. Deep voices could be heard in the distance, and we began to sneak over to the tree line. There was a large clearing, like the mayor said, and in it were large cages made from wood. 3 men, all naked, were shivering inside of them, and outside were cat people. They were large, with the head of a cat. Some had longer hair than others and had cloth draped around their bodies, somewhat like togas. They were discussing what they should do with the men. What's better than a cougar? Zack asked, and without waiting for an answer, we're cougars, he said with a big stone grin on his face. I ignored him and turned to Serena. Okay, how do we want to go about this? I whispered. Well, I only count 4 of those creatures. If you and Zack can create a distraction, I might be able to take a few of them out. Well, let's hope. I don't know how much a shovel's gonna... Come out, the both of you, yelled a deep woman's voice. I looked over to where Zack had been and saw he was gone. The voice came from a black, short-haired cat woman pushing along a captured Zack. I'm sorry, bro. I'm just so weak, he sobbed. God damn it, Zack, I yelled as we stepped out from our cover. What did you do now? They're actual cougar people, man. You really didn't expect me to try and get frisky with them? Silence! Yelled the black-haired one. This man is guilty like the rest of them, only thinking with his libido. He shall be milked and disposed of with the rest of them. Zack's face was one of horror. It turned to joy for a moment, then back to horror. And you two, came another female voice behind us. I turned and saw a long-haired creature with white fur and black spots. You will be milked the same as him, she said, glaring at me. You are free to go, she said simply to Serena. What? Why are you doing this? I asked as she clamped an overly strong paw on my shoulder. With a hard shove, she pushed me forward. Since the beginning of time, men have been the driving force behind all species. They kill, they rape, they do what they want without thinking of those around them. Well, out here we have no need for such things. We take from them and that is all. But that just makes you no better than they are, I said. Out of anger, the white-haired one slashed out at me with a massive clawed paw. I used the shovel to shield myself and swung the shovel in retaliation. The blade of it drew a wound across her stomach. A line of red slowly formed along the white gown she wore, which then fell off, revealing 6 human-like breasts. Her eyes glared, a mouth full of sharp teeth was shown, and with a loud roar, her arm shot out again. Bang! Bang! Serena fired at her. I was about to swing again when I saw the bullet wounds in her arm close back up. They had rapid healing. Great. I didn't have much time to react after that when another of the creatures came up from behind. There was a tight pull on my right arm as I was thrown to the ground, and then nothing. I opened my eyes again and looked down to find it was gone, below the elbow. I screamed and came close to fainting. I honestly couldn't tell you what all happened next, just that shit got crazy real quick. The world faded in and out as Zach screamed from somewhere in the distance. Gunshots broke out and cougar roars were all over the place. Serena came into view, her face covered in a mess of blood. She was yelling something to me, but it was cut off when one of the creatures chased her down. The creature came by the other way, Zach chasing it, raking the rototiller across his back, and I blacked out. I was shook awake by Serena and the world came hazily back into focus. She had scratch marks here and there, and Zach was by the cage talking to one of the creatures. They all seemed to be catering to his every desire. What happened? I asked. I'm not really sure. I think we were all done for, but somehow Zach lost his shirt in the scuffle, and they all stopped when they saw the mark on his back. Has that always been there? It took me a moment, but then I remembered the large red birthmark Zach had that was in the shape of a cat face. Lucky for us, right? Yeah, lucky us. I looked down to where my arm should have been. I was shocked to see it still missing. The stump where it ended was tied tightly in cloth and soaked in blood. Oh right, about that. They apologised and said you could have it back. What's left of it at least. She helped me to my feet and I stumbled towards Zach. She was talking to a couple of the cat creatures and I noticed the guys were still locked up. They eyed me and even with all the blood loss I could see they were embarrassed. Matt, we are sorry about the arm, but you have to see it from our point of view, said the black cat. I weakly shook my head and laughed. Your point of view? You take and kill innocent men, rip my arm to shreds and... They weren't innocent, Matt. They were rapists. For one reason or another, the police were never able to put them behind bars. So the Orin people have decided to take them out, said Serena. Years ago, we made a pact with an entity of the land. We were all survivors of assaults and we wanted revenge. So we accepted the curse and became the creatures you see today, said the white cat. Why are you bowing to this moose? I asked, pointing my stump to Zach. He bears the symbol of our goddess and it is to be revered. It is a sign of things to come and how he will be saviour to us all. Ha ha! I bear a cat, he said with the same dumb look on his face. I'm like a king now, Matty. I get to come by and be milked every month. Everything is going to be okay now. Great. Well, that explains everything. Can I have my arm back now? We made our way over to the edge of the forest where the ruined remains of my arm lay. But before we could get to it, something fast darted out. It was him. Finally! You don't know how much I've waited for this moment. Be witness to the full glory of my power and weep. Oh, for fuck's sake, I can't deal with you right now, man. That curly-haired bastard tilted his head back and opened his mouth. Like a snake eating a rodent, he let it drop into his maw and he began to swallow it whole. The disgusting bulge in his neck moved down like a worm and I stood there baffled. My right arm was gone and eaten by that codpiece wearing freak. Suddenly, to everyone's surprise, his body began to glow. He levitated up into the sky and became too bright to look at. It was like some Beauty and the Beast shit, you know how at the end when he changes back into a man. Well, finally he was lowered back to the ground and was no longer old or disgusting looking. He was quite beautiful actually. His soiled tighty-whities were replaced by a skin-tight leotard that stretched well over sculpted muscle. He still donned the prosthetic below it, but it was more anatomically correct, and now his lush hair was akin to that of a Greek statue. Ah, much better. Ever since your ancestors sealed away my powers, I've had to bide my time and wait for you two to show up. Now that I have them back, I can resurrect my dark mistress. Thank you so much for your sacrifice. Even his voice was gorgeous now. Serena pulled out her gun and fired, but either she missed by a mile, which was impossible for her, or they went straight through. Off to the side of her, Zack ran forward like a linebacker. He actually managed to make contact, but him grabbed Zack by the neck and began to lift him up. Zack reached into his pocket and slapped him across his face. He screeched like a girl and put a hand to his burning cheek, dropping Zack in the process. "You have the other medallion! Go!" As he screamed, I could see the air around him shimmer with intense heat. He sneered down at all of us, and upon seeing Zack's new entourage of catwomen, he decided to call it quits, I suppose. "Oh, I'll be back, you better believe it, and when I am, I will pull the skin clean from your bodies." With that, he just kinda folded up inside of himself and disappeared. I didn't have a lot of strength in mine at that point, or blood, and I ended up blacking out again. I've been in the hospital for a good month or so trying to adjust to life as a gimp. I haven't had a lot of time to post anything new, not that there has been anything to write about. Things have actually been pretty quiet lately, which I'm both happy about and concerned by. It gave me the time to write a Halloween story though, so hopefully you all enjoyed that. I'm also becoming a little worried about Uncle Bob. It seems no matter how much we smoke, he doesn't appear. Zack went to get our money from the mayor, but he seems to have disappeared as well. The secretary still gave him our checks, but either didn't know where he went or refused to tell him. He says he thinks Barghast is afraid of him, and I hate to say it, but I kind of am a little too. Well, I guess. Until next time, I really appreciate the few that have stuck by us. Thank you, and I'll be back to let you know if anything else happens. Don't forget, if you enjoyed that story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line, or even give them a glowing review. I'm sure they really would appreciate it. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to tap the notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. Oh, and don't forget to share the video far and wide. This will all help with YouTube's algorithm and will help to promote this channel more. And don't forget to check out the merch store. The link will be in the description and also in the video thumbnail. And if you would like an honourable mention, send in a snapshot of yourself with your purchase and I'll feature it in one of the videos. I now have my very own subreddit community where you can submit any stories you've written. You can submit your stories or encounters either there or send them to cryptidsroost@gmail.com. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. All the links are below. I also have a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit, and you'll also find me on Discord. If you would like to support this channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. Again, that will also be below.